Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of NRL Supercoach Off the Bench, TLT podcast. We're going to do the trade trends, go over the team changes, have a bit of discussion around some buy planning and that as well. Tonight on the show, we're joined by our regular Timmy. Welcome, Timmy.
Evening, Roscoe. How we doing?
Good. And tonight we're joined by a special guest. We've got Billy from the All Stars podcast. Welcome to the show, Billy. First time on.
Thanks, mate. Nice to do something different for a change.
All right, so we'll quickly go through the team list and then we'll just talk about the trade trends. So first game's the Broncos versus the Panthers. For the Broncos, Adam Reynolds is out with concussion, replaced by Jock Madden. Panthers are no changes. Now, I think Reynolds is obviously a big out for the Broncos too. I think Panthers will be too strong in this one. Do you guys agree?
As a Broncos man, I'd hate to say so, but yes, I think they will. We do have a history of playing teams as they're coming into form. Happens that the Storm hadn't been playing too well, and then they didn't look so bad last week. But anyway, you take the good with the bad. But I'll be saying it's going to be a cracker on a Thursday night as long as it dries up between now and then. But I think the Panthers are probably going to be too strong for us without Reynolds.
Yeah, it is in Brisbane, but you got dry track. You guys got the home crowd. You guys always do well in Queensland. I think every Queensland team does. So coming off that last game, don't be surprised if you guys put it in the fight, particularly with Panthers not losing their steering ability, mate. They don't look the same team.
Yeah.
No, I will say that last year they only beat us. I think it was on the 79th minute. It was literally a long kick and a chase down, and I think we were leading pretty much for 79 minutes, and they got us right at the very end. I think they won by 6 or 1 by 4 or something like that at the end. But it should be a good game.
They're definitely not playing their best footy, that's for sure. I mean, the Tigers beat them in pretty sloggy conditions, 14-0 the other week, and I don't think they're playing that great. I agree. Were you going to say something, Billy?
I was going to say it's wet here too. It's normally a dry track. I'm not sure what the forecast is the next couple of days, but there is a bit of rain about. So not sure who that brings. It brings in a bit more or takes out a bit more. It's not a bog track, so it's not going to be straight up and down the middle. There will be some expansive play, but it depends on how much more comes. But yeah, think of it like a soft 7 at the moment.
Yeah, I thought that they held up pretty well at Magic Round 2, considering how many games were played there. Obviously, it was a bit of a mud fest in those last couple of games after we caught that barrage of 10 minutes of rain and hail there at one stage before the Roosters game started.
Yeah, mate, there was a lot of liquid consumed both on and off the field that weekend.
And that was just by us.
Yeah.
I saw you.
All right. Well, on the trade in trade out list, Zach Hoskins number 2 on the list. I think he's done his job. He's starting to leak cash. I think you guys agree it's time to move him on.
Yeah. Look, he's one of the trade outs that I'm looking at this week. Probably going a trade up. Zach Hoskins, possibly to someone like Britton Nakora. Just try and lock someone in from now till the end of the year. I think the Sharks have got their bye in round 13. So there's no real benefit for next week, but that's the end of them for the buys. So I can play him then right through to the end, and my second row is pretty much set and forget.
I like that trading, especially if you've got enough for 13. I mean, they've got a juicy draw coming up after their bye too.
The only thing with Hosking, bud, is if you go back and look at all the scores, he's ranked second highest, third highest.
And his scores have been pretty low. A couple of games there where he's been rested or he's had the HIA last week too.
Yeah, the only concern, or not the only concern, but the major concern is, that those blokes coming back. Sorensen having a massive score last week. You never know who's going to get that 20-minute rotation. So I'm going to hold him another week, but only because there's a couple of outs this week, and particularly with the Warriors. But I think hold and play one more week. But yeah, he'll be the likely candidate to go, and possibly Turbo as well, given on that bum knee, bum hamstring, or whatever injury he's got. He's not quick, but he's another sort of hold for one more week, just in case there's a small chance he actually doesn't make Origin.
It's interesting because the club came out and defended him the other day, and they reckon he's 100%, and they reckon there's nothing wrong with him. But I'm pretty sure when he got run down by Stefano the other week, that I'm pretty sure he's not 100%.
He ran faster down the course, so saw that.
All right, the next game is the Dragons versus the Roosters. Obviously, Dragons Hook's been hooked. He's gone, which is a danger game for the Roosters, I reckon, because we know what happens when coaches get sacked. Teams seem to lift from it. For the Dragons, Zach Lomax comes into the side with Max Feagai dropping out. Ben Hunt moves back to hooker, or the halves, I should say, with Jaden Sullivan back to the bench, and Jacob Little comes back into the side with Moses Mbai dropped to reserves. For the Roosters, Joey Mano's out injured. Luke Keary shifts to 5'8". Drew Hutchinson to the halfback. Egan Butcher comes back from concussion with Angus Crichton moving back to the bench. Silly Tupanua comes into the starting side with Nat Butcher moving back to the interchange bench. Fletcher Baker drops out of the side. How do we see this one panning out, Billy?
Well, Roosters obviously get up, even depleted. You would like to think so anyway, but massively disappointed that Manu's out. Brought him and held him pretty much for 4 games like this, regardless of whether it was at 6 or 4. His tackle busting ability is insane. I think the fact that you've got the no real sort of established 7 at the Roosters does make it a little bit easier on eyes and points. Hopefully it puts more game time into blokes like Jack DeBell and Jack Bird without a blowout score of 40, 50 points on the board. Hopefully there's less time for conversions and they get more hit-ups and tackles and base. So that's the upside for me.
Yeah, Timmy?
Yeah, look, talking of Joey Manu, good segue. He's the other player I'm looking at actually trading out this week. Just going through his numbers. So his break even currently, I know it's irrelevant this week and it'll change for next week with the magic number and whatever else, but his break even currently is 78. He's got a season average of 57, 3-round average of 60, 5-round average of 61. So the numbers say that you can probably let him go this week. And unless he goes spastic when he comes back on, he's 20 points away from his BE at the moment. So, look, there is a chance or a world where you could sell Manu this week, either go down to Billy Smith if you think he's going to stay in that Roosters team, or look for somebody else as a centre wing keeper or a quality player for next round. But then Manu could end up being 600K or below 600 before too much longer, the way he's been going. So, look, it's. I think if he goes back to the centres, I'm more keen on him than I am at 5'8" at the moment. I know he gets his hands on the ball a bit more at 5'8", but I don't know, the scores just aren't there. But
he's only had a couple of games, but
the same thing for Teddy.
I think because he'll go to fullback when Teddy's out for Origin.
That's why I bought him. But
no, I don't know him, so I can't really comment too much. But I just think if I had him, I'd hold him. I just think all this rumours around that it's an unknown. They don't know when he's coming back. They're saying extended period, but they've got to buy round 13. If he misses this round, he comes back round 14. He's got the dual position. He'll play fullback round 16, I think it is, if they don't have a buy. It's very tempting to hold him. I know it's easy to trade him, move him on, Timmy, but I think if you've got the numbers there, I think you should hold him.
One bit of advice for you. Sorry to cut you off, mate. Go back and watch the game when he got injured. Not so much when he got injured, but watch him walk off the field unassisted. He ain't hobbling. That's not a 4-week injury, mate. No way.
Yeah, and like my logic was holding Katoa for round 13 and then let him go and bring Manu up into 5'8", and then it was basically set and forget Manu and Dylan Brown at 5'8" for the rest of the season. That was my logic behind it. I'm not 100% sure. So he's played 8 games. He's only had 4 scores over 50. His 2 big ones were a 90 and an 86. His other 2 big scores or scores over 50 were only both just over 50.
I don't know, Timmy. He's been scoring better at 5'8" than what he's been scoring at centre.
Yeah.
Have a look at the scores. He has definitely.
No, I understand. No, I don't disagree with that. I just think when the Roosters click, I think I prefer him at centre than I would at 5'8", because I don't know. There's something not right there with the Roosters, and it's hurting Manu. It's hurting Teddy. yeah, I don't know. It's something I've got to stew over because, like I said, my plan was to put him in 5'8" and leave him there for the rest of the year.
Yeah. So on the trade out list, we've got Teddy on that one as well. Thoughts on selling Teddy? Obviously, he doesn't play 13, miss a few games for Origin.
If I knew whether Reece Walsh was going to play in the Origin squad, even if he's sitting at 18th man or something, then I'd probably be selling Teddy to Walsh this week, which was nuts because I
sold
Walsh 3 weeks ago and I've lost a shit ton of money.
What do you reckon, Billy? Move him on?
Walshy?
Teddy, hold him for this week or move him on now?
Oh, you got to hold him, mate. Even if he drops 40, 50 grand in coin, he's not playing Origin. What's his name? See Ponga's game the other day? They'll leave him at fullback. They've got their halves sorted. They'll race.
Yeah, no, sorry, Billy. We're talking about Teddy. It was my fault that I brought up Reece Walsh. But with keeping or selling Teddy, my logic was if I had the cash or made trades work or whatever, maybe there's a world where I'd sell Teddy back to Reece Walsh. But yeah, that was sort of the logic behind it.
I'd wait till next week, mate. Regardless of the break evens, Teddy's going to be Origin, and he's got the Dragons this week. I know he hasn't been exactly lighting the world on fire. Looks a lot slower, but it's maybe with the 7 out, he's given the ball a lot earlier to try and do a little bit more with the sweep play. But mate, the old saying, once bitten,
never sell a gun.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, not that one. Load of crap.
I think we've been saying for weeks that he's due. We keep saying he's due for that big game, but it just hasn't happened yet.
So this I know, but he's got all you got to do is hold him for one more week.
Yeah,
he's playing the Dragons this week. If he kills it, great. If he doesn't, so what? What are you losing? It's 1 week. He's going to score 50 anyway. This whole don't sell a gun thing is idiotic. I mean, if you've got $1 million player, if you can sell that person into 2 people at half the price, that's going to have 3/4 of the output. Add that together, mate. You get 1.5 times the output. The only situation that doesn't work is when you got $1 million player that you're losing out on captaincy.
Yeah, I think I was going to say I think that at not selling guns is out the window this year, and we've seen that. I've sold plenty of guns this year. I've sold players that I thought I'd never sell, and it's happened. Timmy sold guns too, hasn't he, Timmy?
I've dropped 6,000 spots in 3 weeks. Yeah, it's been fantastic.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Maybe look at the other side. Yeah, if you get the right people, it does work though. You look at the flip side of that saying, like, never sell a gun. Okay, what about the opposite of that? Never buy an unproven player. Look at blokes like Carraz killing it this year.
Yeah.
You've got blokes like Tomoko, who's tripled his tackle bust on last year, averaging 75, who has an insanely soft draw coming out. If you went by that philosophy, you'd only be buying $1 million players, and you get smashed by the head-to-head guys just buying everything with a break even of negative 20, 30 every week.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Look, I mean, I know we can't have them all, Billy. I've had players that I've just sat there and gone, why didn't I jump on them? But you can't get them all. Like, I passed on Marzu, I passed on Manu, I passed on Hoskins, but there's other players that I picked up and made those trades at the right time. I traded Carraz to Campbell Graham the week before he got injured when he was about to drop a ton of cash. Got lucky out of it, but they're the sort of moves that get you up the ladder. So sometimes you just gotta bite the bullet and just do it. So
exactly.
It's either going to pay off. It's not in Tim's case going Cleary to Moses. That was probably not the worst play. It was just unlucky what happened.
Fucking Moses and royally fucked me in the ass. So
by the way, Tim, I'm not going to only stuff you for trading in, but I'm going to get a hay tray as well and do it right in front of you at the game.
Game on.
All right. Now, trade-ins. Billy Smith is obviously highly traded in this week. After an impressive start, a 71 against the Cowboys and an 80 against the Panthers. Doesn't cover 13, but seems like a good option. Thoughts, Billy, on this one?
100%. It doesn't cover 13, but so what? A player priced at sub 300, scoring 70 without a try. Mate, he's just living up to the years of promise that we've been sold.
My break even of -62 projected to make 88K, and that's only with a projected score of 40. So if he doubles that, look out.
What's he currently priced at? 280?
He's priced at 289.
Yeah.
So I think
No.
I wasn't gonna trade this week, but I think it's too hard to pass.
Really?
It up.
Oh, 100%.
Just because I'm running low on trades, Bill. That's all. So
How many you got?
22.
Yeah, I'm about the same. 24, 22. I burnt all my
Booster all
all
gone.
my
Booster gone too. Last one last week. So
yeah, but the whole point of them is to get yourself up the ladder.
yeah.
People say them saying, look, I need them for the buyers, I need them for cashies, I need them for injuries. Okay, that's great, but if you're, I'd much rather have nothing left than be in the top 100, or as opposed to 10,000 with all those trades up my sleeve, trying to catch the leaders who already have a full fucking team.
Well, you're going to have 3 trades either way without a boost for 13, 16, 19 anyway.
Sweet.
And
there you go.
that was my logic. I've used all mine already. But at the same time, I've saved a few trades throughout the rounds as well. I've still got 27 left. So my logic was use them all early, and then you get 3 trades each of the buy rounds. So you basically get an extra boost for those 3 rounds. So if you need to do stuff, then do it. So,
you can afford to get Cleary back now.
That's exactly right, mate. So I've dropped back over the last 3 weeks, but it was all part of the master plan. Unfortunately, Moses threw a bit of a spanner in the works, but anyway, that's the way it goes.
You got to try stuff, mate. If you do what everyone else is doing, you ain't going to win. You got to beat 130,000 people. You don't do that by following the crowd, and you don't do it by not taking a risk or following your gut or something.
Oh, that's exactly right, mate. And at the end of the day, we're playing a game. It's like Monopoly. You're not just going to sit back and play for an hour just for the sake of playing a game of Monopoly. I don't know anyone that sits there and fucks around. It's do or die. The whole world's on a game of Monopoly. So this is basically the same theory. You're playing with money. You're trying to buy low and sell high and all the rest of it. So yeah, it's
so Billy, last week I panic traded while I was at the South Tigers game and traded out Brendan Hands to Jaden Sullivan, which obviously didn't pay off because Hook decided to not put him back on after he got binned. But then I had to make another trade and then make a third trade to have 17 because Talakai was ruled out. So I traded Talakai to Lachlan Miller, which worked out to be okay, and it's even worked out to be even better this week because Talakai's out again.
Sweet.
So I think I got a bit lucky with that one. So
he's the kicking is certainly really helping him out, isn't it? I think it was 24, 28 points in kicking last week. He seems to have lost the tackle busting and hit ups that he had the first 5 or 6 weeks that everyone said bought him in for, but he's offsetting that somewhat.
Yeah, I think that's because Ponga's back in the team and he's taking away a lot of those stats off him. But hopefully with him going to Origin, hopefully Miller will benefit from that, especially in round 13, hopefully. And he's still got the goal kicking, which is good. If Ponga takes that over, it's time to sell him, pretty much.
Yeah, the only problem with getting him is that fine balance. A lot of people have Eels, Knights, and Manly. So you just need to try and figure out what the right balance is. So
that's it. They're all on the buy round. That's it. They're all on the buy round 14. Those teams. So, all right, moving on to the next game. South versus the Eels for South. Thomas Burgess is out again. He injured himself in warm up last week. Halim Saleh comes into the starting side. G. Cartwright's out with concussion. Daniel Fafita comes onto the bench. For the Eels, they get Mitch Moses back. With Jake Arthur dropping out. Sean Lane's and big out too, 6 to 8 weeks with a hammy. Surprisingly, Cartwright's coming onto that edge. Sean Russell comes back into the side with Hayes Dunster dropping out. Makatoa joins the bench. Sean Lane's a big out. Cardi's interesting selection. I thought that maybe Maddo might have come in.
Nah, Maddo's better off the bench. He's more of an impact player. He hasn't been starting in God knows how long now. I think Arthur experimented with that for a while, that right edge middle rotation. But since we got Hopgood in the middle doing the job that he's doing, I think it's really easy for him to sort of pull him in off the bench and then rotate that right middle edge.
I could hear a lot of people cursing when the teams come out today when they saw the Dunsters being dropped. I think a lot of people were holding him for 13.
He still would have scored 12. It's the old the Eels right edge, mate. It's horrible. The only place
Tim,
we ever score is left edge, and that's if you're lucky enough to go over the top.
yeah, and Timmy, your mate Mitch Moses is back in. Obviously, big in for the Eels this week.
Yeah, mate. I need him to repay the favour, so I need a big score out of him this week. And yeah, look, against the Bunnies, I'm not convinced he's going crazy big this week, but yeah, look, if he can finish with, I don't know, get some of the points back that I lost last week, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. How do we see this one going? South played okay against the Tigers. I wouldn't say they played great, but they were very, very good against the Storm at Magic Round. How do we see this one panning out?
We're at Rabbits. We're at Rabbits. Yeah, we're at Rabbits. Yeah, no, I don't think we'll win that one. Yeah, I did some stats pre-season, like I do every year on every player. Moses is the flat track bully. I think you're going to get hurt this week big time, man. I'm sorry. The one that actually really surprised me though was Gutho actually scores really well against the tougher teams, and it's the lower ranked ones, which he doesn't really do much because the rest of the team just pipes in. He doesn't have any base. So I think you'll find statistically Gutho and Dylan Brown are the ones that'll do well this week, particularly Brown if he's playing that edge and gets the 40, 50 tackles. So moral of the story, I hope we get a win. We desperately need it, but I think Latrell's just going to run right, and I think Cody will just go back to that left edge this week. I don't think Milne's going to score another treble, whatever he did.
Yeah, Sean Lane out's going to be a big out for the Eels as well. I think it's a bit of a shame because he obviously missed some time, and then he's back and just starting to get fit again, and all of a sudden, he's out for 6 to 8 weeks, unfortunately, from looks of things.
That's the side column that Tungy and Graham run out too, so they might exploit that.
Sean Lane was on my watch list too. And I know a few people jumped on him early as well. I know a couple of the boys in my group's called the Moist. I don't know about your guys' one, but a couple of those guys jumped on him early too, so they're spewing he's out. Yeah,
my mate Dean Rochelle is absolutely spewing. He bought him a few weeks ago, particularly for the buy.
Oh dear. All right. I've just lost my page now. Give me 1 second. I can get back to where I was at. So next game is trade in and trade outs. For that game, there isn't really anything to talk about with those two teams, to be honest with you.
As far as the Bunnies and Eels go?
Yeah, there's no top 10 in trading or trades out for either of those ones. No, nothing there.
I don't think there needs to be a lot of movement until you know the makeup of the Origin teams as far as the better teams go.
Yeah, all right. Next game, Sharks versus the Knights. For the Sharks, Alton Kafusi comes in the starting side. Cameron McInnes is out injured. I think he's gone for 4 weeks. Talakai, as we said, is out again. Connor Tracy named to start again. Knights, no changes. How do we see this one go? I think Sharks should be too good for this one, but who knows? Could be a very high-scoring game.
Yeah, Sharks playing the 3 p.m. game on Saturday means your VC choice is limited to 6 teams early. So I think most will probably pick something in that. It's either going to be like a Latrell or probably even do you even go to VC on Teddy? But I think you're going to have to make a decision on which game out of that the second and third one's going to be a VC, because you're mad if you're not going Hines again.
I would imagine most of the comp will be my VC.
Most of the comp will be VC, Cleary, Captain Hines. Oh well, no, you can't. They're in the same position.
Mate, you can in Dream Team.
Yeah. For me personally, it's probably like even something crazy. Yeah, like Teddy or go Dylan Brown against the Bunnies and hope for something. But yeah, it's more likely a Teddy, but that would be wishful thinking, I think.
Well, you could do something really left field, and if your bench isn't that horrible, you could VC Hines and pray that it doesn't work, and then you've got like Storm have got the Dolphins, or you've got someone like David Fafita against the Doggies.
Fafita, yeah.
Yeah, actually, I did say that the other night. Fafita as captain was a logical one.
He's I've got my captaincy on him at the moment. It's hard to go past Hines. I'm still trying to work out where those 98 unicorn points came from last week, because I played against 2 opponents that I was leading, and I woke up in the morning and he updated 20-something points. So as captain, that was an extra 40-something points and cost me 2 head-to-heads.
Yeah.
I don't know where it
I
came
think-
from. I don't know where the points come from. I'm baffled by it. Their consistency, week in and week out with these scorers. Peachy was owed a try assist last week, didn't get it. I don't know what's going on.
I think the hardest part with this game too is because it's the Saturday 3:00 game, and then it's always the way the scores won't update until just after kickoff on the Sunday game. So that's the Titans game. So you could end up, let's say like last weekend, Nico sitting on 70 odd, and then kick off of the Titans game, and all of a sudden Nico goes up to 100, 110 or something like that, and you're kicking yourself, not looping. So
that's not big enough to loop. I wouldn't.
Oh, no,
I wouldn't loop.
No, I agree. But I mean, just in relation to then, if you're banking on Fafita or something like that, there can be a 20 or 30 point swing like last weekend.
Yeah, they generally go up, not down too. So I reckon if you chuck it on, if you slap the VC on and he's on 110, loop that knowing that he's probably going to get to 120, maybe 130. But I wouldn't do anything less than that.
I don't know what these scorers are doing sometimes with these updates. Sometimes Thursday games don't update till Saturday, and then the Saturday night games update the next day.
Depends
But
on
then,
how
but, then, but then at Magic Round, they all updated really, really quickly. I don't know if that were on the beers up there or something, but they happened to go really quick.
The whole world was watching them, mate.
All right. So for these teams, we don't have much in the way of trading or trades out of these two teams. So we might as well move to the next game, which is the Tigers.
Yes. I've got a quick question. Billy, interested to hear your thoughts on Britton Nakora versus Teague Wilton.
Nakora is the proven entity. Wilton, one of the preseason sort of wonders. I think he was doing everything off 80 minutes. His scores off 60 minutes coming off the bench or rotating with Wade Graham, whatever it was inflated heavily by tries. So I prefer the guy that's actually playing the same side as Hines. So I haven't looked at the prices, but I'd be 100% be paying more for right side Nakora as opposed to Wilton. But beggars can't be choosers. If you want to have a pod and go that left side, I would, but not right now. Not with a draw. I'd wait. I'd wait until the buy coverage is required. Maybe go both of them.
Yeah, I agree. I'm tending more towards Nakora, and I think it's probably part of it is the fact that he is over 700k, and it's a bit harder for a lot of other people to get to now. And whether or not people are going to burn two trades to do that kind of upgrade.
But he's not the type of player to get the 800, really, is he? So you can you can wait until you really need it. You really need him, and just buy him at basically the same price. You would think.
Oh yeah, sorry, I meant in relation to him versus Teague Wilton for the extra 140 odd K or whatever I'd imagine he is at the moment. I think I'd probably be inclined to find the money and go that way because I think it limits a lot of other people. Yeah,
particularly when you've got all the injuries at the moment, and in the interim, you can buy someone like Bryce Cartwright just to get you through the next couple of weeks, and then when he peaks, it's the straight swap. Well, not the straight swap, but the stepping stone is a lot smaller.
Absolutely, I like that one.
He's actually one I was going to mention before, Billy. I think with laying out 6 to 8 weeks, you're going to have players out for Origin potentially too. I think he's a sneaky option at around about 400 and something K as well.
Yeah, 100%. I started with him at the beginning of the season. Excuse me. And I only sold him last week because back to the bench. I didn't want the 30-minute kind of impact. But with Lane gone, you just need to pull your socks up and go, look, so what? I just traded him out. But next week, if he's going to play 100% 80 minutes, which he likely will as long as he stays on the left, he's going to give you 50 points a game. So he's basically a body to win your head-to-head, get you up the ladder overall, probably gets his price back up 50 to 80 grand maybe, and is just a stepping stone again as opposed to having to pay 700k for someone.
Yeah, and obviously keep an eye on for those. Check your teams what you've got in regards to Manly, Newcastle, and Para players too for that round 14 buy as well. Don't want to be having any more than 5, maybe 6 max out of
Yeah,
those three teams, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I'm still trying to, just on that para thing, I'm still trying to figure out what's going to happen with the rotation, because you've obviously got Junior, which is likely going to play Origin, and the Eels RCG is out. The other bloke that's coming in at number 8 at the moment is only a small 35-minute player. So depending
Well,
on,
we'd have to think that Romeo Greg starts and then Hopgood comes
Hopgood
off,
go
or
into the
Maddo,
front.
or does Maddo play front row?
No, I reckon they put Hopgood in the front row, and he probably plays a Paul Gallen type game. Maddo comes in the lock, those two
Maddo
edges.
plays lock. Yeah, I think so.
And then because that way he plays almost 80 minutes in the front row, you would think, and then has a whole week off to recover.
Yeah. All right, next game is the Tigers versus the Cowboys. Tigers, no changes for the Cowboys, just the one change. Jermaine Tanua-Brown is out with concussion, replaced on the bench by Riley Price. I don't see any hope for my Tigers this week, unfortunately. We didn't score any points against South. We didn't really offer much in attack. Brooks tried his hardest. I mean, I watched him pretty closely at the game, but can't see anything but a flogging, unfortunately, with this one.
Yeah, but they sound like a repeat the last 10 rounds.
Hey, come on. We had 2 in a row, remember, okay?
Quick story. You'll love
the big winning streak.
You'll love this. I was talking to my neighbour a few months ago. Lovely bloke. He's into his bikes and his beers and his bourbons. And he used to be a massive Tigers fan. Go to Leichhardt all the time. And I said, mate, one of my favourite players of all time, I think Kerry Hemsley. I grew up, watching the Eels and the Doggies back in the 80s. And I just remember seeing this lock of hair running down the sideline, thinking, I want to mullet that one day. He said, stay here, son. He goes into his bedroom. He comes out with a Tigers jersey. It's got Hemsley on the back. He goes, this was his training jersey in 1987. It's yours.
What?
It's hanging on my wall.
That's awesome.
Well, if you ever feel like passing it on, I'm more than happy to take it off your hands, Billy.
I'm sure you would.
Hey, thoughts on talk of what's his name, Luciano coming back, maybe even next week. So what do we think that does to Hill and Lukey after having such a cracking game last week? And then also thoughts on maybe Drinkwater is a bit of a pod at fullback at the moment.
He was doing all right last year. But the only thing with Drinky is he tends to go on swings and roundabouts. He's more sort of 40 and 90 as opposed to your 50 and 150 type. But if he gets on a roll, certainly can do some damage. Like he was one of the number one prospects everyone was aiming for last year in those bye rounds, because he was scoring 100, 110 almost with ease versus the cellar dwellers. But I haven't heard his name bandied around as much this year, but that's probably only because of the price that he started at and how dominant the good players are in the positions that he actually plays in Supercoach.
I'm interested to see what happens with their, like Timmy said, with their forwards, because you've obviously got Luciano come straight back into that team. They also signed Sam McIntyre from the Titans as well as a effective now. Don't know if that's just a depth signing or not, but then Nanai comes back in another 2 weeks as well, but he'll go potentially to Origin. I don't know if he'll get picked. I think Lukey holds his spot. I think Hess will probably go to the bench or play front row maybe even. Then I could see Lukey staying there. And I think Goss might be the one that might drop out. The old jet ski could miss out.
Yeah. If I was ever going to buy anyone in that team, it'd be Cotter. He's one of my favourite engine room guys, but you never know what rep sport he's going to play.
And what minutes he's going to get too. It's a bit all over the place.
Yeah, he was when he went from a hooker and back into the second row, front row, and started playing those massive minutes and running from dummy half. It was just like a diamond in the rough. But all of a sudden, he just seems to have come back to actual forwards minutes, and it's not the nicest given his size. He's more of an endurance player you want to have in your pack.
Yeah. All right.
As for Drinkwater, the plus, like someone in my situation where you could go like Teddy to Drinky, He's got the Tigers this week, plays a Para that's probably going to be depleted forward pack next week. I don't know what forward pack they're going to put out next week. The only hard part, well, then they play the Storm in 14, so there'll be some Origin players backing up or maybe missing. So at least he's there for this week. He plays round 13, which is obviously a big bye round. 14 is basically a baby bye round. And then the Cowboys have their second bye in round 15. So, sorry, that's their first bye. Their other one's in 19. So, yeah, look, it's not a horrible play. I think anytime you play the Storm, you want to be playing them when they are depleted, and Parramatta probably much the same at the moment. So he could go on a bit of a run over the next 3 rounds.
I was just going to say, from memory, the Storm actually play one of the last games after that Origin, so they'll all be pretty well rested and likely back up. And Munster's one of the very few that actually thrives in between Origins. It's almost like he puts that passion and pride on and just starts destroying everyone.
I've got my eyes all over him for when he drops cash after Origin. Hopefully, drops to a juicy price.
Munster.
Try and bank some cash and trade up Katoa to him potentially later on down the track. All right. What's your thoughts on Talangi? But he'll probably play Origin, won't he? Could be a sneaky pod, but he's most likely plays Origin. Yeah. No.
I think so. No, I think at the moment it's Xavier Coates and Cobbo. My only question would be whether or not they find a spot for Walsh in there, like we talked about on the pod the other night. I don't know, which we did talk about it briefly, Billy. I don't know if you have listened to it or not, but Queensland's always they like their stick and pick or whatever you want to call it. But the age-old theory of you find the best 17 players that can play for your team and then you give them a shirt number. At the moment, you've got to say that Reece Walsh is in the best 17 footballers that Queensland's got. Is it going to be a case of they just find him a position, whether that be on the wing or in the centres, and as someone like maybe if Xavier Coates isn't scoring a lot of tries, I mean, he's a 10-foot giant. He can jump 17,000 feet off the ground like Superman, but it's probably not him. But Cobbo's been pretty average this year. Does Cobbo lose out and they put Reece Walsh on the wing, or do they try and put Gagai out on the wing and put Walsh in the centres? Like, I don't know. He's too good to miss out.
Yeah, I know, but he doesn't really get involved that much in work rate. Queensland probably want a winger that's just fast, good under the high ball, going to go and do the job. If he's going to play Origin, I reckon he has to play fullback. And I think Queensland will pick the right people for that job. This whole stick and pick, loyalty to players, load of crap. It's easy to be loyal when you've got, Jonathan Thurston and Cameron Munster, Billy Slater in your team for 10 fucking years. Load of crap. As soon as those players retire and the replacements started struggling, they replace players. I think what you'll find is they put the best person for the job in there, and I think Cobbo is out of form at the moment, but mate, size, strength, speed. You put him in an Origin team, a bloke like that probably just lifts. So I'm not Billy Slater, mate. I've got no idea what he's going to do, but if I were him, I'd probably just pick someone like Cobbo. And the Xavier Coates type molds, as opposed to putting a young bloke like that on the wing. I'd save him for a fullback where he really deserves to be.
All right, next game is the Dolphins versus the Storm. For the Dolphins, Jesse Bromwich comes back to the side, and Branko Lee comes back into the side as well, with Faray dropping out. Ray Stone joins in the strange bench. For the Storm, no changes. Faray, he was highly traded in last week on a buy round, like 20,000 people traded him in. Don't know if people did it, if they just wanted to do it as a downgrade or whether they just expect him to play. But it was a weird trading considering they only played one game, I thought.
Yeah, but you got to uplift players somehow, and sometimes you run out of players to do. And even if he didn't play this week, which was highly unlikely, you've got a half a decent chance of actually playing next round anyway, which is when you actually want him for. And you've got to have at least one bloke on your bench that you can use for looping. So if he's the only one you've got there right now, I wouldn't call it the worst play. Like me as an example, like I got him in last week, but that was only so I could get rid of Cartwright and upgrade him to DeBellum. So you might laugh and go, "Oh, you idiot! You bought it in the back early," but I got an extra 60 points.
No, well, I if for something like that, that makes sense. You know what I mean? But I just wonder how many of those bought him in, thinking he was going to play.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So he's still fourth traded in on the list this week. For the Storm, there's not really anything there to talk about with them in regards to trading or trade outs. Is there anyone we like for the Dolphins for trading in this week, considering they're playing round 13?
If it wasn't for injury, I'd be half interested in is Aiken, who's the centre was injured. Yeah, he was going all right. Jermaine Ozarko has been kicking some good goals. So he'd be a possibility. But the one that I am getting in this week, regardless of his break even, is that Hooker. The
Okay.
Yeah, going to get him in. I'm not sure if he's at his average or whether he can maintain it for the rest of the year. But the fact is, he's been putting 40, 50 tackles in a game. He doesn't have too many runs. I think it's only 12 to 16 points in runs, but he's averaging either a try or a try assist reasonably consistently. He's playing 80 minutes. He's playing the Storm this week, and although I don't expect too much attacking from him, Storm are going to dominate the ball, you would think, so he's going to get a lot of tackles. So even if he drops a bit of coin, I'm happy to get rid of a bloke like what's his name? Who's the number 7 for the Titans?
Oh, Tanner Boyd.
Yeah, Tanner. I've got him at hooker, and he's break even sort of 55, 60 this week. He's done his job, so straight swap. Basically, just get a buy player in.
So who's going to be hookers then? Him and Harry Grant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Timmy and I both own JMK already. We both sold Harry Grant to him about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
I've been happy with the trade. Like JMK did get injured for a game, but just looking at purely off the numbers, so his current average is 71.7. Harry Grant's is 70. Just having a look. Sorry, Jeremy Marshall King's average is 68.9, and Harry Grant's is 72.8. Marshall King's way above and beyond everybody else. Damien Cook at 61. But even when you look at 3 round averages and 5 round averages, like JMK is second to Cook, and it's only just. So people were giving me a hard time last week saying I should have sold Marshall King, and so I didn't have to play Sonny Luke. But at the same time, it would have been a dumb trade because all I would have wanted to do was bring JMK straight back in, and it just wasn't worth 2 trades to him out and him back in for the sake of making a few points for last week.
Yeah, exactly. And two of those games were versus Cowboys and Souths as well. We're 89 and 72, so it doesn't matter who he plays.
No, and that's exactly my point. As far as I'm concerned, he's a set and forget keeper for me at hooker till the end of the season.
Thank goodness he got that try assist at the end last week. Timmy made the score look a bit more respectable.
Oh yeah, but yeah. I think he's a lot of the other hookers at the moment are just meat and potatoes hookers. Yeah. They're 40 tackles and that's about all they're getting. Whereas at least he does have some attacking upside. He's had a few forced dropouts and things like that as well. Whereas a lot of the other hookers are just doing the basic meat and potato stuff. And so if you're at the time, I think I made money by selling Grant to JMK, and I think they've averaged pretty similar since.
And now JMK's worth more price now too.
Look, I have to give it to him after 25 years of saying, Bennett's, got some of the best teams, some of the best players in the comp. You should have won more premierships, mate. For a bloke like that to see value in Marshall King before the comp even started, he's I can see why he's a super coach.
I don't know. To an extent, I almost disagree, Billy. The fact that he was playing really, really well out of that Dogs, like he was probably their best player last year. I think he was probably far above and beyond their best player. And I think a lot of the attack went through him last year. So as soon as Bennett bought him, I thought that's a great trade. And even through our preseason podcasts and things like that, I was all over JMK. but I think there was something that happened. And did he not play round one? He's only played.
He got suspended early in the round, in one of the rounds for like 1 or 2 weeks or something.
Yeah, round 3.
But I called it at the start of the season when he signed him. I said he'll be one of the signings of the year, and he's proven that so far.
You guys certainly are football fanatics. I haven't seen that much of him. I cannot watch an entire Dogs game.
No, but when he's the only one that was scoring points last year and still making 60 tackles a game, like it was a pretty safe bet, I thought. But mind you, there wasn't too many other Dogs players that were making any tackles last year.
Billy, if it wasn't for Supercoach, I wouldn't watch every game. I probably wouldn't even watch the Tigers play either. I've got so many opponents against them that you watch them to go, oh no, but then you're kind of happy, but you're not. You know what it's like.
Doing these ones. Looking through the fingers.
Jesus.
Righto, game on.
All right, let's go to the next game. Dogs versus the Titans. For the Dogs, Ado Carr returns from injury. Blake Wilson drops out. Carl Olawapu comes into the starting side with Josh Reynolds swapping back to the bench. Sam Hughes replaces Franklin Pele on the interchange bench. And for the Titans, one changer, and Clark comes back into the side with Isaac Famalasalu, or however you want to pronounce it, drop into the reserves. How do we see this one?
Tino's brother?
Tino's brother. I should just say Tino's brother. It's probably bloody easier. How do we see this panning out? Do we see this being a high-scoring game? Titans are a terrible second-half team.
Somebody pointed out last week, I don't know where it was, they screenshot the Titans' last 5 games and every single
one. They're all 26 points. Yep.
You know the one.
Yep, that's the one. But they can't score points. They can't score points in the second half, though.
Doesn't matter. Maybe Sportsbet have a market for 26 points in the first half.
No, maybe. Do they have a market for Feeder getting a double as well? And about 100+ Supercoach points as well in the multi.
I don't know. Do you guys have a sponsor?
We do. We have Bluebet as our sponsor.
Okay, there you go, Bluebet. Titans have scored 26 points in the last 5 games in a row. Set up a market.
All right, we'll get
26 points.
I'll get Brett onto that one from Bluebet. Right,
that might be one of our magic bets this week, Roscoe.
We might see if we can put that in our multi. So
big shout out to Bluebet. They have supported us really well throughout the season, and we had our first win last week with our multi getting up, or one of our multis getting up. So fantastic. Thanks very much, Bluebet, for your support.
I'll be supporting you every week too if you're only getting one up.
Oh. All right. We'll move on to the next game. I don't think there's too much to talk about with that one. Raiders versus Manly is the last game for the Raiders.
Hang on a second. Go back. Look, okay. I've played Khan Pereira for the last 3 weeks.
Oh, you've got to mention it, don't you?
He has dead set gone from the bloke that I've been too shit scared to play. One of my fear factor players of I don't know what the hell he's going to score this week, to the guy's banging out 60, 70 points for fun now. Like he's admittedly, if he scores 2 tries, he's still only getting 70 points, whereas a lot of other wingers say score 70 and it's up near 80 or 90. But hey, look, it's he's becoming less scary to play each week. The Titans seem to just keep going to him. He plays outside of David Fifita, which is just sensational. So at this stage, he's definitely in my starting 13 this week.
That would actually be the opposite for me. That would actually be the scare factor. The fact that, he has to go over the line twice in 80 minutes just to get you 70.
But he's doing it, though. Like the fact, I think we talked about it on the Sunday pod, the fact that Fifita gets the ball and 3 blokes go in to tackle him. So then all he's got to do is get the crazy offload.
Yeah.
You can say the same thing.
Out to Kelly and out to Camperera, and he trips over the line.
Yeah, you can say the same thing about, Alex Johnson. Oh, but, he has to go over the line to score. Like, yeah, but he's outside Walker.
But he does.
He does. Yeah.
And a shout out. And also shout out to Cam Pereira because, 5 minutes to go, I had him in the last leg of my 2 multis to win a total of about $300 and got over the line with 5 minutes to go. And let's just say I was in the car driving home and very happy about it. Thank goodness the wife wasn't in the car because I screamed out really loud. I just fist pumped it. I was very happy. Very happy.
But gamble responsibly, especially while you're driving a car.
Yeah. Oh dear. All
And
right.
on last one, Raiders and Manly.
Yep, Raiders Zach Wolford's out with concussion, so Tom Starling will start with Danny Levi coming back from injury to join the bench. For Manly, Schuster is back in, God knows for how long. Jake Turbo comes back early from injury. Kimatung is out injured. Aioli's out injured with Burbo coming into the starting side. Condon.
Condom's back on.
And Fainu are the new faces on the interchange bench. Raiders win some form at the moment, aren't they, boys? And I mean, this is in Canberra, Sunday afternoon. How do we see this one going? I mean, in regards to points and who's going to score well this game, do we think, Supercoach-wise?
Oh, I think with the Sea Eagles' form lately, you'd have to back the Raiders, particularly with their form. I think you'll see the blokes like Tarpany start to get some clutch attack. Like he's been playing 55 minutes now. The extra 5 minutes is really kind of helping. So, but like him, Hudson Young's been scoring a try with ease every week, although he generally only sort of scores 60 with that. So, I think hopefully the redhead doesn't go to the bin this week. So blokes that have him will get their 65 back.
Yeah, that hurt last week.
Yeah, and I think you're outside backs. I think I looked at their draw. Like, Roscoe, do you want to do this for me? Because they can't seem to pull it up on my computer at the moment.
Yeah, what you need?
Go and have a look at the Raiders draw. I had a look at it the other day, and I had a wet dream thinking I need to get as many Raiders in my team as possible, but I couldn't think of anyone I actually wanted.
What about Tarpany? Have you already got him?
No, I don't. But the thing is, of my front row forward, if I get him, how much more is he going to score than the bloke I've already got over 6 weeks? And the answer might be, an extra 10, 15 points a week? It's not really going to get me up the ladder. Whereas if I get a bloke like Timoko, who's averaging 75, and I find a week where I don't have to play, I don't know, Sammy or Carraz or whoever's playing the Storm that week, I can sort of swings and roundabouts trying to manage that back line and get an extra 30 points a week.
So you've got Manly South, Tigers, Warriors, 5, Roosters, Titans, Dragons, Warriors.
Hell of a draw, isn't it?
Yeah, so again, they play round 13 and then play that tricky round 14 bye.
Against the Tigers too.
Yeah.
That Campbelltown, I think that's a Campbelltown, that one.
Funny you mentioned Timoko. As soon as I looked at that last game, I just brought it up on the screen then and went Joey Manu to Timoko, and it was going to cost me an extra 60K or whatever the hell it was, 60, 70K. So bit of a sneaky pod there.
What about
less than
Rapana? What about Rapana?
Less than 2%.
What about Rapana as a pod?
Rapana's lost his interest, mate. He's lost that tackle bust. He's lost the tackle bust. I'd much rather bank on someone that's not going to pass to him and do all the tackle busting themselves.
And just out of interest, what side is Timoko? Any idea? Is he left or right side of Canberra's attack?
He had to be right because the Croker's always left.
Yep. Let's do the maths. Manly has been the worst defensive team on their left-hand side, which is, i.e., Timoko's right side. So I think I'll be all over.
There we go. There we go.
There's your anytime try scorer.
Trade right now as we speak.
And that's exactly right. There's my anytime try scorer for this week, Roscoe.
Right. Yeah. Well, you better send that to me because I'll forget. Yeah.
How many more times can you ask me that this week?
So for this game, trade-ins, Garrick's pretty popular. Tarpany's pretty popular as well. Burbo's popular. I'm not sure about this one. He's cheap at 236K, but he's starting on the edge this week. But how long he's there for is another thing. I mean, I think Talangi's out for 4 weeks or 6 weeks or something. So whether he holds that spot or not, it could be one to keep an eye on.
Yeah,
and Tom's pretty high up on the list as a trade out too.
Just on that Burbo thing, the problem is he plays this week in Canberra away from home. If he keeps his spot, he plays next week in the bye round without his brother, without Cherry Evans. So possibly get dominated. And then he's got the bye anyway, so he comes back in 4 weeks, which is the entry point for what's his name to come back. So you're going to get 2 games out of him in horrendous conditions.
Yeah, and we know that Cooper Johns and Keogh Weeks haven't really been doing a great job as fill-in for those halves while Schuster's been out as well. Joe Croker's quite highly traded out this week too, Billy, which is a bit surprising considering he's got about a break even of 30, plays at home this week, and plays 13.
Yep.
All right. Anything else that we want to talk about quickly, Tim, at all in regards to? Oh, the other ones I wanted to mention too. Sorry, was with the trade outs. So I know the Warriors aren't playing this week, but CNK's highly traded out. Jackson Ford's highly traded out, and as well. So what do you guys think on that one? I think surely Ford comes straight back into that team next week.
Yeah, I think that's insanity getting rid of him. But I think you'll find a lot of people getting rid of him, quite possibly ones that are nowhere near overall and just want someone for head-to-head this week. But,
yeah.
A lot. I think you'll find a lot of head-to-heads don't actually play the bye rounds, so people selling him don't need him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I asked that question in one of my cashies this week, and yeah, we've got the buy for the 3 weeks of the buy round, so we don't have to worry about that for our head-to-head.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. I'm still in the hunt for overall. It's going to be hard, but I'm still in the hunt. So focusing a lot on the $200 sort of head-to-heads, and then realised after a trade in half a dozen blokes, there's no round 13. Fucking what?
And that's the worst part. For head-to-head, that's when you want the strategy. Like you want to reward the guys who do the buy planning and things like that. It's a bullshit.
That's why I'm not happy with the best 13 this year, because it just makes it too easy for those that don't buy plan.
Yeah, it's head-to-head's luck of the draw, mate. You can be absolutely killing it in one exactly with exactly the same team in another comp. You can be coming last. Like I remember losing 2 head-to-heads last week with, I think, the second highest score in both of the comps. Just played the bloke that was higher than me. It's just bullshit luck. Then the one week you have a shit round, you play the bottom of the ladder who just happened to beat you.
Yeah, well, I lost 2 leagues with a 1280 last week, which I thought would have been pretty solid. But even then, like you said, Billy, I mean, I'm ranked just outside the top 1,000, and I'm in leagues, head-to-head leagues, where I'm coming near last. That's how competitive some of the leagues are that I'm
in. Mate, one of the comps I was in last week, I was absolutely killing the bloke. Yeah, he had absolutely no chance. So he decided to VC Hines just in case. He won. I beat him with every single score except the captain.
Just in case. I love it.
You're kidding me. Drove me insane. You can't pick it.
How you traveling this year anyway, Billy? I didn't mention how you traveling overall this year.
Not too bad. Still a bit away. I'm about 1,500 at the moment, so I'm about sort of 400, 500 points off the lead. So I think it's sort of doable. Particularly with a lot of the teams at the comp. A lot of the teams at the top will sort of organically strip away when with the buyers coming through. But so a bit of a hike, but close enough. It's only a couple of rounds, and I'm happy with my team at the moment. I think my bench is JMK, Cleary, Trebojevic, and someone like Hosking. So pretty strong.
Yeah. I know Timmy and I are both overall players as well, but do you keep an eye much into those stats that the guys post up about? You can see who's got what in what team, like sort of live thing in the top 100 and that. Do you keep an eye on that sort of stuff?
I couldn't give a rat's ass, mate. I make my trades on a Thursday, and I don't even fucking look until Monday. If you're playing me in head-to-head, there's no cat and mouse. I'm not looking. I'm punting. I'm looking. What's racing at fucking Scone on a Friday night?
Yeah, I'm much the same. I'm more interested about trying to get my overall points rather than fucking around with head to head. It's not until after the halfway mark where I start to
It's too hard.
that. Yeah, it's exactly right.
But years ago, I used to just go overall, then come to the end of the year and go, "Oh, did I make any finals? Oh, sweet."
You can't, it's too hard. You can't focus on both. It's one or the other. You know what I mean? You can't do both.
You can try, but it is hard.
Yeah.
It's very completely different strategies, especially when it comes to the last 10 weeks or something like that. It's it's bonkers. And especially now with the whole thing with the bye rounds, like with the whole 13 player thing versus not playing buys at all in your head-to-head league. So it's totally different strategies.
Yeah, it's too hard. I just asked my mum how she's going now. No,
He's saying you've got a second team.
No, mate, never have, never will, ever. The one year that maybe I actually do win it. I don't want to get done by.
Yeah.
Hey, there's 2 IPs.
What is your
we won't talk about second teams, will we, Roscoe?
No. What is your highest finish, Billy?
6th.
Oh wow,
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I actually would have won it, but came down to the last game, and there was a short ball from JT to someone who dropped the ball over the line, and I had JT as captain, so I would have got the line break assist, line break, and try. But I'll take 6th.
Did the TV make it through the end of that game?
Oh, mate, wasn't happy, but I don't break things.
No,
That's it.
We're all seriousness with this, but we don't need to, go to violence, obviously. So, all right. Well, that's it for tonight's show. Thanks, Billy, for jumping on. Appreciate you coming on.
You're all right, mate. Nice to meet you guys for a change.
And Timmy, thanks as always.
Yeah, mate. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a good round of footy. Up the Broncos. Hopefully, we keep the Panthers honest on Thursday night.
Good luck to everyone for this round, and we'll see you Sunday night for the round of 12 wrap. Till then, take care, everyone, and good night.
Stay safe and be good.